And this is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for What in the World with...
Hi, Paul Seaburn. Hi, Karen.
Hey, you got it this week.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And John is with us. Hi, John. I'm here with Karen Hale, the owner, executive producer of the show, owner of NewClevelandRadio.net, media podcasting mogul of Cleveland, Ohio, and my old buddy John Dinalo with sports and all the commentary that he provides for us. So hello, everybody.
Well, hello.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Karen.
Again.
We have a new show, so let's get to it.
Let's get to, oh boy, John's ready to go.
Wow, he's in a hurry.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, let's, as I always say, I want to say hello. I don't know if he's on yet, but for the past couple of weeks, we have had a listener from Poland. And on YouTube, you can make comments for anybody who's listening on YouTube. You can make comments on the side. And apparently the lovely Donna and her friends have been talking to him. He has good written English at least. So I'm assuming his speaking English is good as well. So hello to our friend in Poland, Jak się masz? That's it. That's all I know.
Well, he also listens. He also follows you on Mysterious Universe.
Oh, yes, he does. That's right. That's right. Yeah. And you'll find out all the stories.
And he's with us. He says, I'm here. Hello to all of you.
Hello right back at you.
What a deal. So, yeah. So as many of you know, I am the editor and head writer at Mysterious Universe, where a lot of these stories come from. But we have quite a few more here. We have much more fun with the stories here than we do at Mysterious Universe. So if you want in-depth coverage and you want pictures and video, you go to Mysterious Universe. If you want to have a good time for an hour, stick with us here at What in the World. And today's a good day to stick it, as I would say, because I've got just the weirdest stuff you've ever heard and visual aids. So John, I know you like the visual aids. Karen as well. So let's get right to it. I love to have local stories. So we have a Bigfoot story, a local Bigfoot story from Ohio, where a junior Bigfoot, that would be a Littlefoot, was seen in southern Ohio. So we're going to talk about that. And a second Bigfoot story, we've talked about this before, how Bigfoot is being used in the real estate business. It happened again, this time in Longview, Texas. So we have a story for Tex Chick and Steeler Girl, who are both our Texas listeners. So stick around for that. We're going to find out about who has the world's sexiest accent. We're going to hear about rattlesnakes in trees in New Mexico. Inflatable pants. This was my hot story of the week.
I saw that picture.
I brought in inflatable pants for men, John. This is what you need. I have a way for you. You'll be able to order them online. So,
Lord.
We have a robot that runs on pure alcohol. That ought to be funny to watch. And then the people in Japan, I don't know if we have any listeners from Japan, but the Japanese seem to come up with some really strange things. So this week, I found a story about pet moss balls in Japan. They actually use moss balls for pets. So we'll find out about that. John is here to give us some information on the competitive world of wiffle sports. So it sounds kind of kinky, but it's...
Well, you could say that, Paul. I could say that.
I did. And then, of course, we'll end up with Bluff the Co-Host, everybody's favorite trivia and news game. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto here at What in the World. We're on NewClevelandRadio.net. Please come visit us there. If you're listening on to the podcast side on some platform, thank you for joining us. We're on all of them. Thanks to Karen. If you're watching us on YouTube, please join. I think, is that what you do, Karen? You join or become a fan?
Yes. Yes, they can join in, and then they'll get notices of all of our shows.
Oh, there, yeah. And that was my last thing I wanted to say is that Karen has a wide variety of all kinds of different podcasts on nuclearradio.net. Something for everybody once you're done with What in the World, because you come here first for a good laugh. And speaking of good laughs, this is my favorite story of the week. So get ready for this. Screaming Bacteria, which sounds like a great name for a band, a heavy metal band, the Screaming Bacteria. Good Cleveland band. So a new study, this is about real bacteria, by the way, John. New study finds that colonies of bacteria scream when confronted by antibiotics. Now, why would they do that? To warn other colonies within bacterial earshot that antibiotics are coming and they could kill them. So they need to run to another, if they're in the hospital, run to another patient or another.
Oh my gosh.
Wherever it is that they go. This is a real study, Karen. It's real. Real scientists heard these bacteria screaming. Now, screaming colonies of bacteria, to me, right off the bat, sounds like the plot for a Jamie Lee Curtis movie, because she is the scream queen.
Right.
So she could either be the queen of the bacteria, or maybe her screams might fool the bacteria into thinking that there's antibiotics coming. And she could be like the Pied Piper of bacteria and lead them out to someplace where they get doused by hand sanitizer or whatever it is that kills them. Or it could be a great name for a band. I think the Screaming Bacteria would be somebody I'd listen to once at least. So I tell this story, and the first thing everybody thinks of is, okay, I've got bacteria all over me. What I'll do is I'll take a tube of Neosporin and I'll hold it right by my arm, and then I'm going to listen up like this and see if I can hear the bacteria screaming because they're about to be killed by the Neosporin.
Sounds like a plan.
I think I was expecting John to jump up and try it.
I don't think so. Why do you have me involved with that, Paul? I don't know. It sounds a little shaky if you ask me.
It is. You're exactly right. So I don't think it works that way. But anyways, or it could be that the bacteria around the world are revolting because of our war against them with these antibacterial products, and maybe they're doing this to make us feel bad. We're killing them off with hand sanitizer, and I don't feel bad about bacteria at all. So if that's what they're trying, it's not working. And then I wondered, a lot of these hand sanitizers are not. They say they're antibacterial, but what they really are is alcohol. And I'm not sure that alcohol is as good at killing bacteria as some of the other products are. And I'm just wondering if the bacteria could be behind this and convincing us to get them loaded instead of killing them, which may be why we can't hear them scream when we use hand sanitizer, because they're actually getting just schnockled by this 99.99% alcohol antibacterial hand sanitizer. Obviously, I think about these things too much.
Yes, you do.
Well, it seems to be something that you really do think about. You hear about it, so yeah, I think so, Paul.
I did. You're right. You're right about that, John. Okay, so here's a trivia question for you. What do you think the world's sexiest accent is? Now, obviously, I think both men and women have sexy accents, but it tends to be attributed more to men than women. So, Karen, what do you think the world's sexiest accent? What country might that be?
Well, not for me, but I would think most women would say French.
French, which would probably be the accent that men would say too. Although, John, what do you think? Sexiest accent?
Well, I'm in the same continent, but I'm going to say the British accent.
The British accent, that's another good one. The Spanish accent, whether it be from Spain or from Latin America, I know a lot of people think that that's a pretty sexy accent. Myself, I go with the Polish accent. For our Polish friend over there, And also,
It's
lovely
all a
Don-
matter of taste. It's all a matter of taste.
Well, John, you're the closest. This was a scientific study, as always, real news. A study of the world's sexiest accents, a poll. Women chose the Scottish accent as the sexiest. Now, they didn't do one for men, so all I have is women choosing the sexiest accent.
I don't agree.
You
No,
don't think so, huh?
no.
Well, you know what happens when you start spreading stories like this is that the bars when the ones that are open are now full of guys doing their best James Bond, Sean Connery impressions.
Got it.
No matter what they say in that accent, they figure they're going to get lucky. You know, like I like my women like I like my martinis, with an olive in their mouth. And I do a terrible Scottish accent, so I'm not even going to try. I don't do a really good Polish accent either. This is the Cleveland accent, which I think all of us have. So, well, not
Yes.
Karen. Karen has the Upper Peninsula.
Michigan.
Yeah. What is it?
Canadian, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we can't pin it down.
I know. I'm just different.
Yes, you are, and we're glad for it. So let's move from Scotland to China. This is this is a seismologist in China says that the plates that are underneath the ground, the tectonic plates that rub against each other and cause earthquakes. There's two of them that meet, like in California, and that causes all the earthquakes there. He says he has found that the rocks in these plates emit a foul odor right before they start breaking up as part of the earthquake. So it's a way to detect earthquakes is if you smell a foul odor, it means an earthquake is coming. Now, if you're in an elevator and it's not you and it's other people,
It's somebody else.
press all the buttons, get off of the nearest floor and run. Now, of course, the lovely Donna, now that she hears this story, she's going to remember it. And late at night, when, of course, I emit foul odors, that I know I'm going to hear her screaming at the top of her lungs, earthquake, earthquake. Go running out the door. So actual scientific study, earthquakes emit a foul odor. So it's not really a great warning system. I mean, if you smell something bad, the ground is probably going to start shaking next, and then you're going to start shaking, and then you're going to emit a foul odor, and it's all over. So, but
it's a bad outcome. Oh, that sounds like a bad outcome.
It's always. Do we ever have good outcomes on this show, John?
Oh, you're exactly right. I'm just pointing out the obvious. That's okay.
Thank you. That's right. That's why we invite you every week. So speaking of bad outcomes, here's a story about monkeys. If a monkey's in the story, it's going to be a bad outcome. So this one comes from, I don't remember where this one is from. We'll pick a place. Mexico. So Mexico found that monkeys will go on strike if they see other monkeys getting bigger rewards for doing the same task that the other monkeys are doing for less. So like if you get 2 biscuits for pressing on the lever, and the monkeys see another monkey get 3 biscuits for doing it, they will actually go on strike. This is according to a scientific study. They'll go on strike and they will stop pressing on the lever until their demands are met and they get 3 biscuits per press.
That's how I am around here.
That's what we heard.
If I don't get my 3 biscuits, forget it.
No lever pressing for you, if you know what I mean. So in my opinion, I mean, I'm going to assume that this is true. In my opinion, it's nothing for us to worry about unless the monkeys start making signs and learn to walk upright back and forth in a line and holding the signs up saying, we're on strike, work for more biscuits. And you could just see this at the Cleveland Zoo. I mean, you know, that's the last thing you want to see when you take your kids to the zoo is a line of monkeys out front parading back and forth with signs. You know, we pick up our poo, but the baboons get all the bananas. You can just see the kinds of things that they're going to come up with. So great study. I hope it doesn't come to fruition in Cleveland anytime soon. And why do they even study these kinds of things? It always amazes me that not only do they come up with the studies, I can see coming up with it, but getting someone to pay for it, that's the key right there. Somehow they pay for these studies. So another study, this one comes from linguists, the people who study language. Linguists are saying that young people raised on texting and tweeting, which is our current generation, young people who are raised on texting and tweeting assume that the reader knows whether the end of the sentence occurs and have abandoned the full stop punctuation mark, which means that they won't get my double entendre about missing your period.
Oh,
True study that texting and tweeting, if you look at tweets or you look at text for sure, nobody uses the period anymore.
right.
They barely use, they use the exclamation point, which obviously I don't think will ever go away. But the comma's gone. Semicolon, gone. You know, parens, I think, are gone. What else? I'll look at my keyboard here. What else is on here? Question mark. Question mark, I think, will still stick around.
Yeah.
Remember that band, John? Question mark and the Mysterians?
Yes, I do. I can even tell you the name of the song that they made popular.
Oh, and that was
96 Years.
96
Hey,
years.
yeah.
Very good. Karen, if I'm not mistaken, that's a Detroit band. They were popular in Cleveland, but I believe that they were a Detroit band.
And that's when I was living in Minneapolis.
Well, that explains it.
That defeats the purpose, Karen. That
You were
defeats the
listening-
purpose there.
Yeah, you were listening to Prince back then when Prince was just a baby.
Yeah.
Jumping around in his, never mind. I don't have any good Prince jokes. All right, so let's go back to Japan for a minute. So now, and I alluded to this story before. So everybody's looking for a good pet, a good low maintenance pet. And if you live in Japan, you know how crowded it is. I mean, you are just wall to wall people. So your pet has to be small. It has to be low maintenance. And they found just the thing, and that is large balls of moss that, believe it or not, can move. They're living creatures. A ball of algae is what it is, basically. They're called the marimo. And the way they survive is that they clump together in a ball and they kind of roll around, picking up whatever it is that they pick up to eat. They're very popular if you have an aquarium or a terrarium. They will live in both an aquarium at the bottom of the fish tank or in a terrarium on the land alongside of it. So the one thing they do warn, you know, because they're not cheap. They're not cheap. In fact, I think I have a picture of one here. They're not cheap, so they warn people that if you're about to spend a lot of money on one of these balls of moss, you might want to go to one of the shelters because they have a lot of old chia pets there, and you can up for adoption that were abandoned by people who got tired of their chia pet. So here's a little kid looking at these balls of moss like
Oh my gosh.
he's picking one out. He's waiting for one to roll up to the window, and that's the one he's going to pick, the one that likes him. You know, like when you pick out puppies. Where do they come up with these things? I have
I have
no
a ton of
idea.
moss in my backyard. I don't need any more.
Well, but does it ball up? See, Karen, this could be your retirement job.
Really?
Raise these balls of moss and then convince your neighbors that they're great pets, low maintenance. You don't have to walk them. You don't have to have a litter box. I'm not sure what happens to their poop.
Yeah.
Maybe the other ones roll into it. And
I'll consider it.
John, this is the kind of pet for you. Have you ever owned a dog?
Yes, yes, I have.
Oh, you have. Oh, okay. But I don't think you have a pet right now, do you?
No, we do not have a pet now. No,
No. Okay.
we had a pet, and yeah, unfortunately, he passed a number of years ago. But he was a very good companion.
There you go. That's what dogs are good for. Balls of moss? I'm not sure. I don't think anybody calls a ball of moss their companion.
To give you my opinion, I'm not going with this right now with the moss. I mean, I'm just not. I don't.
You know what-
I mean, I understand it. Okay, I understand it, but I'm not going for it. It's just me.
No, you know what's scary? You're back in the business world, John. They used to have those balls that you squeezed for stress. Remember those?
Stress balls. Yeah.
Stress balls, yeah. I would be afraid that I might reach for one of these things by mistake and squeeze it and, cause its demise. And then I'd feel guilty about it. And then I'd have more stress. Even worse, if they roll around on their own. I'm sitting watching TV. I can just imagine all of a sudden a whole bunch of them rolling into the living room, demanding to be fed like the dogs used to. But now there's these balls of green stuff rolling in and out. Or I know I spend too much time thinking about this. And then they'll learn how to talk. Then it becomes more like Little Shop of Horrors. Remember Little Shop of Horrors?
How can you forget that movie? It's a landmark movie.
Landmark movie. That's right, with Steve Martin. And before that, there was another one, if I'm not mistaken. The Little Shop of Horrors. So the plant talks. So I can just see this ball of moss, a big giant ball of moss running in, telling me, feed me, Seymour. I want my food. And I got to follow it back into the kitchen and give it whatever balls of moss eat.
Oh, jeez.
And I hate to say this, but you can't really tell from that picture. They kind of look like stuffed cabbages, and that's the worst thing. I'm sleepy, I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I go to the refrigerator, I go to the kitchen counter, and I see something there that looks like a stuffed cabbage, or as our Polish friend would say, a gołąbki. And next thing you know, I'm eating my poor pet ball of algae. And those are the kinds of things that keep me awake at night. And now they're going to keep you awake because I planted the seed.
All right.
Thanks.
So now 2020 is by far, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many people, the worst year we've had in a long time. It's not a big good year. It's getting worse. It was worse for Goodyear, by the way.
Oh.
We're not going to talk about politics here. So, I'm to the point where I want to say 2020, I surrender, wave the white flag, don't do anything more to it. But that's not going to happen because it just keeps on. And here's one of those stories. In New Mexico, they're finding rattlesnakes at the top of trees. Now, they're not flying rattlesnakes. They check that out. They climb trees. And these are big rattlesnakes, snicks, 6-foot long rattlesnakes, climbing trees and waiting up there for unsuspecting prey or people or both to go underneath, and then they fall on top of them. And
Oh.
yeah, can you believe that? It's like, to me, it's like the plot of a bad Tarzan movie, where Tarzan's swinging through the trees and he reaches out and he grabs the wrong thing, and it's one of these rattlesnakes that's in the tree, and he falls down and he gets bitten by the rattlesnake, and then Cheetah comes and Cheetah has to suck the poison out of him, and then then they bond, and next thing you know, he's leaving Jane for Cheetah. Then it becomes a completely different movie, and I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. It's a slippery slope that these climbing rattlesnakes are on right now, and I just don't want to see it. So another one of those things I think about when I see stories like that. Climbing rattlesnake. When I lived in Texas, I never heard of rattlesnakes climbing trees. And we did have plenty of rattlesnakes, particularly in West Texas. So around the Austin, San Antonio, and beyond that, El Paso. But at least rattlesnakes are native to Texas. They're native to the good old United States of America. The people in Buffalo, New York, and in upper New York State are having problems with a similarly shaped invasive species from Asia, the Asian jumping earthworms.
Jumping earthworm?
Yes, jumping earthworms. Believe it or not,
Earthworms.
yeah, they jump, John. They jump. The way you can spot them, if you bang on the ground, they get disturbed, and if they're hiding in the leaves, they jump up. And then I suppose if you're the early bird and you're down there, you get poked in the eye by one of these jumping earthworms. Or if you're a fisherman, although I don't know if fish like them, they're big. According to the story, they're the size of pencils. Now, the first thing they had to do was explain what a pencil was to some of the people who were reading, because pencils are another extinct species. So not an invasive one, but an extinct species. So they're explaining, first they explain what a pencil is, and then it's like that long, not yellow, but and they're bad. They eat the ground cover underneath the trees, which is supposed to be used to keep the moisture in and the good stuff underneath the trees. So they don't know how we got them. They don't want to blame the Asians. It was obviously they were smuggled. They stowed away within some vegetables or some fruit, and they were taken to New York. And apparently, New York, upper New York, is a lot like China. Go figure. And they escaped, and they felt right at home, and they just moved right into the forest of New York. Of course, if these are from Asia, they probably eat them. That's just what there's so many things there that they eat that we don't, and probably vice versa, but we don't talk about those as much. And John, we've gone out to dinner a number of times. I don't remember you ever ordering worms.
Now, wait 1 minute, Paul. You're 100% right. But wouldn't you say, now wait a minute, wouldn't you put this in the same category as, like, for example, the TV show Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern?
Oh,
Yes, yeah.
But
My favorite show.
Consistently, he eats a lot of different things, of course. But then, of course, it's the insects and it's the flies. I mean, he eats these ants. I mean, he eats these things because they supposedly have nutrients in them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that like the scientific backdrop of this? Is that there's like nutrients in those things? But I'm not eating them. Okay, I don't. It's. I mean,
you don't want nutrients.
Funny, but think of it.
Don't want nutrients. Yeah, good.
Well, wait a minute, Paul. I don't think I've ever seen you order earthworms either. When we go out to eat.
You're right about that, John. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
but however, I have thought about it, and Andrew Zimmer is right. That's a good example. But more often than not, they were whatever the weird stuff he was eating was prepared by the local. So they may have roasted them, they may have pickled them, they may have done something to make them more palatable.
That's exactly right. And I think that's one of the appeals of that show was they were showing the cultures of those different countries and those different regions, and those people that are natives. To them, that's natural food, and they prepare food like that. So that's part of their culture, obviously. So I understand that.
And
just hold the chocolate covered ants, though. Just hold them, though.
Anything covered with chocolate has to be good. But one of the things that I have found in restaurants where I don't understand the menu and I take a risk is that more often than not, the unusual animals, let's say, or insects, are often hidden in another food, in particular dumplings. So that's what I'm thinking, is that, I'm going to go into some Chinese restaurant one day and order the dumpling special, and not knowing that there's earthworms inside of them. Or worse, you go to a Polish restaurant and they're into pierogies. That's the
Oh,
One thing I can safely say is you will not encounter that in any kind of Italian restaurant.
no,
I'm not saying that because I'm of the heritage, but you know that. You never, I defy someone to show me that a picture, a video, or something like that going into an Italian restaurant, wherever it is, any part of the world, go into an Italian restaurant and be exposed to something like that. It's not happening.
No, not even in the ravioli. And,
Well, at least you hope not.
Or in the Italian sausage. You know what they say about sausage? You don't want to see it being made, John.
Oh, it's kind of gross. It's a gross process in general. I mean,
yeah,
sure it is. Sure it is.
So, speaking of gross processes, thank you for that segue. Let's move on to the inflatable pants. This is Karen mentioned it. I'm just going to show you a picture, John, right off the bat, because you're going to want to order a pair of these. Can you see that? Can you see those pants? They're ballooning around the guy's ankle like he hasn't taken a pee in months, and he's just as backed up as you can possibly be. This is fashion. They call this fashion in England. This guy, his name is Herrick Rishnand is his name, but he's a London fashion mogul. These are called the Harry, Harri, Harry, inflatable trousers. And these are the hot thing in London right now. They were big at the last big fashion show. So he now has them available for pre-order on his website. And they come with a warning. They come with multiple warnings. But the one warning that caught my eye was that they're made out of latex. These latex inflatable pants must never be overinflated. which to me was the first reason why I would buy them, is to see how how much air I could get into them before they exploded, or the ankles blew out, or the top, that, or worse, they made a sound like a balloon makes when you're letting the air out. I think I would have had more fun with these pants. So we'll see. I can't afford them. They're thousands of dollars, John. I'm used to buying cheap jeans. Yeah, thousands of dollars, Karen. And how do you come up with an idea like this? Who comes up with an idea that says, I'm going to make these pants with these giant, with with balloons at the ankles, and guys are going to think, oh man, I am wearing those to the club tonight. I am going to get so lucky. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And you can't use them for anything else. I'm thinking maybe scuba diving, since they're made out of latex. They already tell scuba divers, don't eat beans before you go putting your wetsuit on, because that's going to cause obvious breathing issues. But you can't go swimming in these things because all the air is at the bottom. So you're going to end up floating upside down like a bobber, and the lifeguard's not going to rescue you because he's too busy laughing his full head off, probably swallowed his whistle. He's just, forget it. You're stuck out there in the ocean, floating upside down until whatever it is, till the shark comes. And
it would defy description when he saw those. He would say, what is this? He would.
Yeah, yeah. And what woman thinks this is sexy? I can't imagine a woman thinking it's sexy. I can't imagine a guy looking at this and thinking, I'm going to get a pair of these for my girlfriend for Valentine's Day. Some red lacy ones.
Oh, jeez.
The power of suggestion. I don't know.
I don't know either. Oh, the power of suggestion. But that's got to be, that's more like hypnosis to get somebody to buy them. I think that's a suggestion right there. So, anyways, while we're in London, this is big news in London. And John, you may be aware of this because you're a history buff, a history scholar. Because there's no tourist in London, the Tower of London has a flock of ravens that has been there for centuries and centuries. The royal family is responsible for taking care of them. And the reason why is because there's a legend that if the ravens ever leave the Tower of London, the monarchy will fall. So guess what? With the lack of tourists, the ravens are getting bored. There's nobody throwing them corn or popcorn or what. Yeah. And they're bored. They're flying away. They're flying away, and they're worried that, not divorce or marrying out of your species or whatever it is that the royal family does. That's not what's going to bring them down. The ravens leaving the Tower of London is going to bring them down. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Maybe they could send Charles out. He's got nothing else to do. Send them out to round them up, or stand in a field and scare them back over to the Tower of London. And how do you keep the ravens from getting bored? I mean, what does a raven do all day besides eat and poop? That's what they do. You could give them target practice. You could go out, maybe send the queen out with her crown, but they're not going to poop on the queen, because even they know that's not the right thing to do. They're going to end up beheaded in the Tower of London. So that's not going to happen. Don't want to do it to Camilla, because then you'll get Charles mad. They could go on strike like the monkeys. That might be fun. So I don't know. I really don't know what the poor ravens are going to do. But this is a big problem in London. This is the kind of thing that people are worried about around the world. We have our own problems. In London, they're worried about the ravens leaving the Tower of London. We worry about robots. This is a study from California, I think. This company invented a row beetle. It's a robot beetle, and I have a picture of one. Yeah, it's not much to look at. It's not the kind of beetle that I think a bird would chase after and eat. It's not the kind of beetle that you would name a band after. But the unique thing about this beetle, John and Karen, is that it runs on alcohol rather than battery or solar power or any kind of electricity. It runs on alcohol. Probably runs better on good alcohol, like top shelf scotch.
Can't buy the cheap stuff, huh?
Not the cheap stuff. That's right. And it has to pace itself. Maybe have a shot of scotch and then maybe some wine and then another good shot. And anyway, so I'm thinking, what would a good movie about the robot that gets drunk be called? And I was thinking of shows that had robots on them, and one would be Lost in Scotch, Lost in Space, Rosie Likes Rosé from the Jetsons. Obviously, at that point, I was I was struggling to come up with anything good. So I decided to get it to look at a local story. And this, by far, I love having local stories, especially about the paranormal stuff. I have two. I have one local story for Ohio, one for Texas, about Bigfoot. This is it. This is great. This is in Athens, down by the university, which is Ohio University. John, what's the mascot of Ohio University?
The Bobcats.
The Bobcat. That's right. Yeah, great basketball. They have a great basketball tradition down there. Not much of a football tradition, but the oldest college in Ohio, by the way. I think it was when it came into existence before Ohio was even a state. So that's how. And it's known for being the #1 party school, or in the top 5 year after year. Going all the way back to when John and I went to college, it was well known for being.
We used to always refer to that as being, what do you know about Ohio University? And apologies to either alumni, recent students, that's all you heard. Now, actually, I've never been there. I've never been to the campus.
Yeah, neither have I.
I know people that have gone to school there and have gotten good educations, but the quote was, well, Ohio University is a party school. So yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. People would have to give some observations on that, but that's all I know. And it's a removed view, so it's not informed.
Right. And I have some good friends who graduated from Ohio University and ended up with really good jobs. So I'm sure it's a good education. But anyway, it's a beautiful area. I haven't been there, but I've seen pictures of it. It's a gorgeous area, very heavily wooded, lots of hills, great place for Bigfoot to hide. And that's what this story is about. So these people are out in, I lost my, oh, there it is. So these people are out in the woods and they see a small Bigfoot. So they immediately call the local sheriff's office. They saw a small Bigfoot flashing a red light, which kind of sounds a little suspicious, but you know, we'll go with it. So the sheriff's department doesn't want to respond to this. So they called the ODNR, which is the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, that's supposed to be managing. They have their own police department for this particular park, the state park, Stroud's Run State Park. So they called them up. They said that nobody's in the office. They only work 9 to 5. So they go out into the woods and they find these people, and they swear, they are terrified. They swear they saw a 4-foot Bigfoot running through the woods, coming towards them so that they could identify that it actually was something that wasn't human, and then running away. So, you know, the sheriff went out and went looking for broken branches or hair or anything. They couldn't find anything. But this isn't the first time this has happened. This is a Bigfoot hotspot in Athens, Ohio. And it's part of the extension of the Cuyahoga Valley National Forest. The forest continues after the park ends, and it goes all the way to southern Ohio. It goes through Salt Fork, which is east of Columbus, and it's like the #1 spot for Bigfoot sightings in Ohio. Home of the Bigfoot, the famous Ohio Howl, which is a famous Bigfoot recording. Goes all the way to this area, to this lake, Dow Lake. So there's amongst Bigfoot believers, this is a hotspot for Bigfoot. And this is a credit to Ohio University. They even have a Bigfoot expert on their faculty. And his name is, John. His name is Dr. Scott Moody. He's now a professor emeritus in the biology department. But back in his heyday, he was a forensic biologist. So he would get called when people would see Bigfoot, and he would go out, especially if they had hair or some evidence that they said this came from the Bigfoot. So in 2002, he was called on to into a case down in Athens of they reported a 7-foot white Bigfoot, and the people had fur and a toe print. So they took him out and they showed him the toe print in the mud, and then they gave him the fur. So he analyzed the toe print, and he determined that it was caused by rain, and the rain was running down making rivulets, and it wasn't a toe at all. It was just a little indentation from a puddle. However, the fur, they did a DNA analysis on it, and it turns out that the white fur was from a white-tailed deer, not a Bigfoot. So everybody was disappointed, as expected. So he's been at various cases. In 2013, he was sent hair again, and he analyzed it, and it was either from a human or but not an ape or a Bigfoot. So he believes, based on all of his investigation, that it was probably a black bear, and black bears are pretty common in Ohio. So, and black bears in particular can stand up on 2 feet. So it makes it all the more difficult to find, to mistake them for Bigfoot. Athens, Ohio is also the home of the Camp Out, one of the famous Bigfoot movies, Camp Out, which was a 2017 movie about a Bigfoot whose offspring was killed probably by college students. So it goes rampaging through Athens, killing everything in its sight. And they have to bring a sheriff out and a Bigfoot researcher. I don't know if the professor was involved with this. And they end up at a camp called Camp Out with a K. So I don't want to spoil the plot because somebody might want to rent it to watch during the pandemic.
I don't think so.
So anyway, so that's the extent of the investigation. There was a big Bigfoot conference this weekend in at Salt Fork, by the way, the annual Ohio Bigfoot conference. So maybe if somebody's still around from that, they might want to run down to Athens. The college students are coming back. I'm sure there's plenty of parties that are secret. And as far as the students are concerned, hit the books, don't hit the trails. You never know what you might find out there. You don't want to go looking for Bigfoot. However, I'll finish this one up here real quick. Someone who is looking for Bigfoot, not necessarily Bigfoot researchers, but Bigfoot realtors. And Karen, I think we talked about this once before. There was a story out of California where a real estate agent used a Bigfoot in the listings of a house, $1 million house, because it wasn't selling. So they got somebody to dress up like Bigfoot. They took pictures of the person throughout the house, in this beautiful living room and in the kitchen and on the beautiful deck. And they sold the house. They sold the house. So there was also one in Ohio, as a matter of fact, in Ravenna, just recently. Same thing. They couldn't sell the house. They got somebody to dress up like Bigfoot. They took the pictures and they sold the house. Well, this one comes from Longview, Texas. Now, Longview is in East Texas, which is part of the piney woods, because there's pine trees all through the woods. And it's also a well-known spot for seeing Bigfoot. So this agent is having a hard time selling this house in Longview. So she gets a friend of hers who happens to own a number of costumes, because this friend likes to do that kind of thing, like to dress up. So she gets her a Bigfoot costume. So she comes in and she poses all around the house. Now, my favorite picture of this is she poses in the bathtub. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's Bigfoot sitting in the bathtub in this house that's for sale.
Looks like an anteater.
Yeah, I think that's an apt term, Karen. I think it's like an anteater.
I wish I could lighten it up, but
Paul, I have a question.
I know what it is.
You know what it is? Why is every picture of a Bigfoot grainy? Why is every picture of a Bigfoot not clear?
You don't have to ask that question.
It's part of the genre, I think. I think even photographs of the Bigfoot, but don't expect anything glossy or clear. It's going to be part of it being just grainy and not being able to pick it up.
Even fake Bigfoot.
I guess that's what it is.
You're right. Even fake Bigfoots are grainy. And that's what this is. So who buys a house because there's a Bigfoot in the bathtub? That's what I want to know. I don't understand.
That's the $64,000 question.
Believe it or not, the realtor said that showings picked up after they put the Bigfoot in the real estate listing. And the realtor in Ravenna, Ohio, said that she was getting contacts from realtors around the country asking for advice on where to place the Bigfoot, what costume works the best.
Oh my gosh.
Believe it or not, this is a big thing. Using Bigfoot to sell houses, not just insurance like the Safeco people, but houses. So speaking of Bigfoot,
he's right behind me.
A Bigfoot just stepped into the picture here. So
just wanted to tell you that there is a filter that gives you graininess.
Oh, I'm very good. That's right. From our staff photographer, Rich over there, Rich Hale. Thank you, Rich. And if you ever need a Bigfoot to help sell a house, I know Rich has a costume. So
Sure he does.
Just kidding. So everybody's stuck at home during the coronavirus shutdown. Sports are slowly coming back. Baseball is trickling out. Basketball seems to be in the tournaments already, although I'm not sure. Football is still in training camp and there's still rumors. So I always like when John brings some kind of weird sport to the show that maybe we can participate in while we're in lockdown. And this is one that I know I have played before, and it has to do with the wiffle ball. So I brought a picture of a wiffle ball. Now, this is not grainy. This is an actual ad for a wiffle ball. The wiffle ball was invented in 1954 by a guy who saw his son and a friend playing baseball with a plastic golf ball and a broomstick. And the kid was getting a sore arm from throwing this golf ball because it's hard to throw that little ball. So he went to, it just so happens he was unemployed at the time. He went to a local perfume company, the Cody Perfume. They're still in business, by the way. And because they packaged their perfume in plastic balls. So he asked them for some scrap plastic balls, brought them home and started carving holes in them to see what kind of aerodynamics he could get, and invented the wiffle ball. And his kids loved it, so he got it patented in 1957. It's called the wiffle ball because when you throw it, it tends to curve and move all over the place. And you would whiff, to use a baseball term to let everybody know that that means to strike out. So that's where the name wiffle came from. He called it the game ball. Very, very boring name. So they're durable. They're I can remember playing with them. They're a whole lot of fun. Use a plastic bat. If you use a wooden bat, they tend to crack. So John, I thought that was it. That wiffle ball was strictly a thing that you played in your backyard. But I understand that there's people who are serious about the sport of wiffle ball. Is that true?
Paul, you're exactly right. And it's gotten to the stage now where there are professional wiffle ball leagues. And let me explain. So just as you said, Paul, most people know of wiffle ball to be a friendly outdoor game played usually by teenagers in neighborhoods and areas where playing with a regular baseball is prohibitive due to damage that could be done by a batted or thrown hard ball.
Oh, that's right. Broken windows.
So the game of wiffle ball became very popular, and the game was played either in backyard or front yards in the 1960s and 70s. Well, let's fast forward to 2020. Some people have been attracted to the game so much that now a young person by the name of Kyle Schultz, who is 21 years of age, he's a student at the University of Michigan. He founded and is commissioner of Major League Wiffle Ball.
Major League Wiffle Ball.
That is correct. Now, since 2009, Schultz has been running his competitive league on YouTube. So you can view it on YouTube. Currently, there are more than 144,000 subscribers, and the league has over 82,000 followers on Instagram. And actually, Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a well-known, recognized sponsor, is now sponsoring the 11th season of professional wiffle ball, which is just fun.
11th season of professional wiffle ball with a sponsor. That's hard to believe.
Well, it is in a way, but here it is. It's interesting to know that there are several other organized wiffle ball leagues located all over the country with hundreds of players.
Amazing.
Now, this league, though, Major League Wiffle Ball, as an organization, has dedicated itself to having a completely professional charter and appearance that will differentiate itself from other national leagues. Goes from the standpoint of logo, some plans for marketing and advertising. So we'll see what Mr. Schultz comes up with. But
so they're serious. They're serious players.
Oh, yeah, very much so. So for those that are interested in knowing about this,
we are.
Well, some may not be. The rules of Major League Wiffle Ball are very similar to the rules of Major League Baseball, with balls and strikes being called, the white ball being pitched to a batter, and 3 outs compromise 1/2 of an inning of competition.
That sounds familiar. Okay.
Well, but here it is. The game has been played with yellow plastic bats and white balls since its inception.
Oh yeah, I had a yellow bat. Yeah.
Right. Now, Paul, you showed the wiffle ball with the dotted with holes, and that's to govern airflow so they cannot be thrown or batted at a high rate of speed. But some balls are hollow, and these plastic balls and bats cause people to play with them fearlessly and develop skills to strike out batters and hit home runs. But the most significant difference of Major League Wiffle Ball, going back to Schultz's league, compared to Major League Baseball, is the fact that instead of 9 fielders playing defense, there are only 3 fielders, and the dimensions of the field in Major League Wiffle Ball are such that the entire field can fit into the size of an entire outfield of a traditional baseball field. So we're not talking about like Progressive Field or Comerica Park, like a traditional baseball field where high school guys play. Okay.
Yeah.
So that field, again, the entire field fits right into the entire outfield. So it's not a large area that this game is played in.
Oh, it almost gives you the backyard feel.
Backyard feel to it, exactly.
Right.
Now,
wow.
Right. All games are broadcast on YouTube. Okay. And YouTube has actually, wait a minute, they have featured the homemade 30 for 30 style documentaries about the games and players, just like the 30-30 documentaries that have been broadcast on ESPN for the last 15 years.
So
there's a very popular show on ESPN.
And they have announcers. They have paid announcers. I can't believe that. They actually have paid announcers. And only 3 players in the outfield, in the field. So that's what, a pitcher and 3 fielders? Is that what?
Yeah, and I guess some leagues have a catcher, some don't. But there are umpires, though.
Oh, there are. Of course. Who are you going to yell at?
Yeah. Wow. But wait a minute. Just not to belabor this. So it's a sport in which the balls that are used are actually scuffed by pitchers. And batters have gone so far as to doctor bats by sawing the bat open and replacing the handle with a garden rake or fill it with what they call bouncy balls to increase weight of the bat.
Oh, this is why. This is a sport for Albert Bell.
Well, to win at all costs. I mean,
yeah.
Here it is. Bats are also taped to allow for a little more weight to help the batter hit the ball farther.
Amazing. It's just so cheating is allowed. It's really an all.
Well, and that's an ongoing debate in baseball, right? That you cut the baseball, you've thrown a spitball. Right. Look at the Houston. Right. I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but I will. The Houston Astros were stealing signs. I mean,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's not necessarily inherent in the game, but it's part of the game. So
that's a tough one. We should talk about that. I'd like to talk about that sometime because that is a tough one. It almost doesn't seem like cheating because the signs are given out in the open, so you're not really stealing anything.
Well, Paul, I think it's a matter of degree. Yeah, I think you're entirely right. Okay, signs are stolen, but there's different signs. I guess because the Astros did it electronically and did it with a person that actually was, from what I gather, in charge of cheating, in charge of doing this. Now he wasn't a player, but there was a person that was in the dugout, from what I understand, that was stealing the signs. Now, I mean, that's what I know. I don't follow it that closely, but that's kind of what I understand. But
I like that idea. I think we might talk about organized cheating someday in sport. that might be an interesting topic. So thank you, John, as always, for that very interesting update for us on professional wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Who knew there's professional wiffle ball? So thanks again, John.
Oh, you're welcome, Paul. Thanks.
And since we brought up cheating, there's one sport where no cheating is allowed, and that's in Bluff the Co-Host.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
Here's a segue for you. No cheating allowed in Bluff the Co-Host. So if you haven't played before, I have 3 stories. They're very similar to the ones that we've been talking about all afternoon. The difference is that some may be true, some may be bluffs. We don't know. It's up to Karen and John and sometimes Rich, if he's still there, to determine whether the story is real or a bluff. So again, no cheating, no sign stealing, any of that kind of stuff. No cutting your microphone and sticking a bat
straight up.
That's and nothing like that. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Story number 1. Those crazy people in Japan are at it again. A popular new way to relax from the pressure of jobs, family, and social distancing in Japan is to go to a zombie spa where one can relax in a coffin while actors dressed as zombies stumble around, attempting to scare the stress out of them. The zombies poke at the coffinated people with cold fingers or worse, while breathing stale bad breath on them and spitting something they claim is brain juice. The whole zombie isolation experience lasts 15 minutes. Then the coffin and the room and the zombies are wiped down with sanitary towels for the next victim to arrive. So, from Japan, the zombie spa where you can go to relax by being scared out of your mind while laying in a coffin, scared by zombies while laying in a coffin. We were talking about the Japanese sports before. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Well, relaxing and, scaring don't go together.
In the U.S.
Oh, I'm going to say this is a bluff.
A bluff. Okay, John, how about you?
Well, Paul, I think it's in the category of it's so weird, it's got to be true. I'm going to say it's true.
Oh, John's going back to his old philosophy. How about Rich? I see Rich back there. So we have one bluff, one true. Rich, what do you think?
I'm going to say bluff.
A bluff. Okay, so you don't believe that people relax by laying in a coffin while zombies crawl all over them.
Well, I was out when you started saying that they would spit all over them and things like that.
Guess what? It's real.
No.
Yes, it is. It's a real thing. They actually do this in Japan. I don't know how much it cost. I was trying to find out how much it cost because I'm sure it cost a fortune. It's like those places where they lock people up in the US and learn how to break. It's the same concept. So John, guess what? You have John.
You're winning, John.
That's an abnormality for me. So I'm happy right now.
John starts out fast. Okay, let's see. Leaves the gate fast. So use a sports term. All right, so let's go to story number 2. Leave it to Amsterdam, the world capital for legalized marijuana, to come up with yet another way to use the weed. City officials are now installing pot-filled urinals in public outdoor locations around the city as a way of combating a problem known as wild peeing, which is what people in the US do in doorways and subway cars. The green pea, that's the brand name, green pea pots are said to use less water than normal public toilets while offering a pleasant sight to look at while peeing and a home for local bees and bugs. Before you think about holding 2 joints at the green pea pot, the marijuana is actually hemp and contains no THC. So, the green pea public urinals that have marijuana plants growing in them in the city of Amsterdam, most well-known legalized pot city in the world. So to cut down on wild peeing, which would be a great name for a band, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, John, we'll start with you. The pot, real or bluff?
I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Okay. So now you're going against your philosophy.
Well, you think of Amsterdam, you think of, all the liberal things that go there with marijuana, smoking, and, partying and so on and so forth. I'm going to go against the grain and say, in this case, it's not true.
Not true. Okay. Karen, how about you? What do you think?
It is so crazy, but I'm also going to say bluff.
Well, Karen thinks that the pot is a bluff. How about Rich, a resident Bigfoot?
I mean, in Paris, they got those little things where you can go right on the street.
Oh, the pissoir.
Yeah.
If you're in France. Yes. Oh, okay. So Rich says that it's true. like the Pissoir, Karen and John both stay at the Bluff. Rich, congratulations. That's another real story.
Oh, wow. I'm losing.
It's the way, another weird thing that Europeans do. Public urination apparently is not as it. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
So now it's tied. John and Rich are tied. Points are doubled in round number 3. So this is a chance to move into the lead. Karen, maybe you can catch up.
Maybe.
Story number 3. While the corona pandemic has been good for the fast food businesses, it's been bad for their advertising department. KFC just announced that it is dropping its slogan, "Finger licking good," until the pandemic is over, to promote good hygiene and safe eating. That is pushing all of the other fast food joints to consider changing their slogans as well. Here's a sampling of what an advertising industry executive has it says that the company's have in the works. So for example, McDonald's is switching to "You deserve a fork today," rather than "You deserve a break today," promote safe eating, while Burger King is testing this slogan, "It takes 2 sporks to handle a Whopper." In a direct attack on KFC, Chick-fil-A is going with, "We'd never tell you to lick your fingers," while Arby's is testing, instead of "We have the meat, we have the mask." And Taco Bell, instead of thinking outside the bun, is asking customers now to think outside the door. So, new slogans to deal with the pandemic crisis coming from fast food restaurants to stay competitive with KFC, which is no longer finger licking. It's still finger licking good. They're just not telling you to lick your fingers. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
If this is not a bluff, I'm just gonna cry. So it has to be a bluff.
Has to be a bluff. Okay.
Has to be a bluff.
Has to be a bluff. John, how about you?
I'm going to say it's real.
John says it's real. Takes 2 sporks to handle a Whopper. Okay. Rich, how about you?
I'm gonna say it's a bluff.
Rich says it's a bluff. So Karen and Rich say it's a bluff. John says it's real. Sorry, John. That fast start ended up in a slow finish. That was a bluff.
Crash and
Rich
burn.
won. You won.
Way to go, Rich. Way to
All
go.
right. How about that?
Wow.
Okay. Your prize, Rich, a very blurry picture of yourself, will be in the mail.
It's great.
Okay.
And on that note, boy, we went a little over here. I apologize for that. But we had a great time, and that's what's important at What in the World. I want to thank my co-host and good friend John Dinalo for the sports and the color commentary. I want to thank Karen for all she does at New Cleveland Radio and for us at What in the World. And Rich, thank you for your color commentary as well. Tune in next week, same time, same place. Listen to us on YouTube and on Spotify and all that other stuff. Look at Karen's other podcast at newclevelandradio.net.
Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day,
Bye.
everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.